Hi there, and in this quick video I just want to add a few more things to the polyatomic ions, naming the polyatomic ions that I neglected to mention, and they are quite important. The first thing is what happens when we add an H, okay, in other words a hydrogen to the polyatomic ion. Let me give you an example. We saw that this one is sulfate. This is sulfate, and sulfate has a 2 negative charge, okay, which means that he would like to share, has an excess of 2 electrons. So what we could do is give him one of these electrons can share with the electron in hydrogen, okay, and therefore we'll only have an excess of 1 electrons, okay, like this. So now this will have a 1 negative charge, okay, but what will this one's name be? Whenever we add an H, we put a prefix bi or hydro in front, okay. So this can either be called bisulfate, or it can be called hydrosulfate, okay. But not just that, because it's still an ion, and this is a very important thing I neglected to mention in the previous video, I do apologize. We must, when naming, we must add ion to the end, to the name. Okay, so this is not just bisulfate, it is bisulfate ion. This is not just hydrosulfate, it is hydrosulfate ion. Because it's still an ion, because it is likely that you can have the same name for a compound that is not an ion. Okay, so if you don't put ion in the name, you are talking about that compound or that molecule instead of that ion. So to do one more example with these two notes as well is how about CO3, sorry. Okay, CO3 is carbonate. Carbonate has a 2 negative charge, but if I add the hydrogen ion, hydrogen has a positive charge, so it will make that 2 negative 1 negative charge, and we know that this can then be called bicarbonate ion, the bicarbonate ion, or a hydrocarbonate ion. Okay, so the last thing I would like to add is the most common polyatomic cation. We've only been looking at anions, okay, and there are many of them, but the most common polyatomic cation, not cations, cation that we are going to work with is NH4. And NH4, what will the charge be? Well, nitrogen has 5 valence electrons, which means if he wants 8, he needs to get some extra electrons from someone else. So 4 hydrogens come along and they give hydrogen their extra electrons, okay, or their electrons, they share their electrons with him, and but he only needs 3. So since we have 4 hydrogens, we have 1 extra electron, and if that electron is shared or given away in an ionic bond, then this thing will have a positive charge because it has given away an electron and now has an excess of protons. So this one has a positive charge. Okay, it is called ammonium, and what did I forget to mention in the previous one? We have to add ion when we're talking about an ion. So this one is called ammonium ion. That's all I want to say on this. In the next video we'll look at some examples of how this one actually makes an ionic bond or creates ionic compounds with some of the compounds or the ionic polyatomic ions that we've been looking at so far. So I look forward to seeing you in that video where we will be naming ionic compounds. See you there.